So in my previous video, I talked about the fact that when you decide to do something and you perceive that new thing as a threat. Now, clearly, a lot of times things are not really as threatening as we make them to be. Like, let's say I talked about waking up at 6 a.m. Now, getting up at 6 a.m. is not really a threat. I mean, you just have to get up, get going with your stuff. But the reason it looks like a threat is because when you wake up, there are a couple of things that you have planned. Either you have to go for a workout, you have to study, you have to do anything. And whatever that you plan to do, you will require a certain amount of energy for that. Okay, energy. Now I am coming to that is this goes back to let's say hunter-gatherer times, where every action of yours that required energy was to be well calculated, because you couldn't afford to waste your energy, because an energy wasted was in a way perceived as you being slightly more vulnerable or prone to threat, any kind of threat for that matter. So coming back to why 6 a.m. feels like threat is also because after waking up at 6 a.m. there are a couple of things that you have to do which will require energy. And apart from that, there are a lot of questions that you have in your mind, that is it really worth waking up at that time, or can this be delayed, can I do it tomorrow? And most of the times we do that. Okay, not today, I'll be waking up at 6 a.m. tomorrow, and that tomorrow unfortunately never comes, and we call it laziness at times. It's also called as procrastination. Yes, I mean, like, you can call it that. There are various adjectives and words that can be added to that. But if we really go to the depth of it, then I think this is how I would really sum it up, or rather add a nuance to this. So yeah, that's that. Try to understand what's the solution for that. Like, how do we get out of that whole cycle or spiral? So the only way I see is to make a small attempt. And what kind of attempt is that? So there is a thing called monkey brain. So if you decide to do something, you will give a lot of thought to it. Like, I should do it this way, that way. Is this the right way? Is that the right way? Anything like that. So all of this is monkey brain thinking. And what's the best course here, or the right course, is to just do it and then decide if it was done well. Okay, you can do it for small things. For bigger decisions that really have a lot of leverage, I doubt you can really do this, but we'll come to that in the next video. But yeah, for smaller decisions, like I talked about waking up at 6 a.m. So let's say you got up at 5:50 and or 5:55 for that matter. So instead of thinking why have I got up, what all I have to do, what all things I have planned, instead of having that as your initial thought, I would say just get up. Just simply get up before having any thought. Even if there is any thought, just get up and freshen up. I'll actually list down a couple of things that you can do, and yeah, I mean, that's how you can break that. And once you break that, do it again tomorrow. And once you have done all of this, that's where your mind will realize that it is not a threat. It was not that difficult as it was thinking it to be. And that's where slightly the evidence starts building that waking up at 6 a.m. is not something difficult. And this is just about waking up at 6 a.m., but you can associate this with a lot of things. Yeah, at the end, I'll just like to add that maybe this is not laziness, or we don't have to add any adjectives or words to this, but this is literally your mind trying to protect you from the unknown, because it doesn't have enough evidence of you being able to endure it, endure the efforts, endure the hardships that it might require to get through that. Now, since our example was waking up at 6 a.m., it doesn't require a lot of hardship, but more or less it requires some amount of mental hardship to just get out of that loop. So let's just say that. That's that.